Hello everyone and welcome back to Animation Pilgrimage, the show where we take a look at every single theatrically released animated film in chronological order. I'm Whitney.
I'm Tennille.
And I had to run through what is it we're talking about today, because I immediately wanted to jump to Persona, which is the Let's Play that we're currently doing. And I was
We've
like,
had
no.
Persona on the mind.
It's like, no, that's not right. Oh, it must be The Legend of Zelda. No, that's not right. That was before it. No, this is a different show completely. Animation Pilgrimage. Hello. All right, so we are watching a Japanese film today.
Yes, we are.
We are watching Shunmao Monogatari TaoTao, and I hope I pronounced half of that correct.
I'm probably just going to be referring to it as TaoTao here forward, because the series itself is more commonly known as TaoTao.
Okay. So, this was miserable.
This was super miserable.
I'll let people know right away that this is technically a children's film, but there is no happiness to be had in this movie. And in fact, it's got scenes that have been reported to be traumatizing to children that have watched it.
Yeah.
So, just a warning, I guess. Also, I want to say thank you to Shiba for finding this movie for us.
Thank you very much, Shiva. Thank you for this misery.
At least it was pretty to look at.
It was. The art direction in this film is actually really nice. And I do want to give credit where credit is due. The whole aesthetic of like the Chinese, are they like woodblock paintings or watercolor paintings?
I don't know, but like it's very much so like a Chinese art aesthetic.
Old-fashioned art aesthetic, yeah. It looks fantastic. However, with that being said, it isn't always the smoothest to translate to animation.
No, the animation can often be very slow or clunky or just downright off.
I would say that like the animation doesn't have the problem of being rough. If anything, it has the problem of being too smooth.
Yeah, they add too many frames to a movement, making it slow. And just look wrong.
Right. The character
wrong.
designs are really nice, though. I do actually really like these characters that are in this movie. I think they have enough charm to them to carry my attention just as characters and designs. There's not anything super special about them, but they feel real enough, you know?
Yeah.
They don't feel like paper cutouts in this movie.
Yeah, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
All right, how about we go into a plot synopsis?
Yes, let the misery begin.
So we start with a baby panda. He is teeny tiny baby, and he is raised by his mother under an egregiously tall tree in the middle of the Chinese mountainside.
I will say right away, too, the translation we found was very kind of broken English for the subtitles, so our understanding of every plot beat might be a little muddled.
Oh, believe me, I'm just skimming.
Yeah.
I'm skimming the plot. I'm not going into hyper details of what's going on here.
Uh-huh.
Anyways, this panda lives with its mother in the woods, and it's friends with a monkey and the monkey's mother. And everything's great until mom gets shot to death by humans.
Yep.
And they show it, and there's blood, and it's like, well, that's...
The river runs red with blood.
Yeah, cool, love it. We're starting with a Bambi story. Great.
It's very Bambi in the beginning. Like, they telegraph that very clearly.
Mm-hmm. 4 years later, the main character is grown up, and then they fall in love with a female panda. We're still on... Bambi. And then humans show up, and the main character distracts the humans so that the girl panda and his friends can get away.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets captured. And then he is shipped across China, across the ocean, and all the way across the world to England.
It took us a long time to figure out where and when exactly this movie was taking place. That was a whole journey you and I took while we were watching the movie.
It's not until very late in the movie that we were like, oh, I finally know exactly when or where and when we are.
Right.
And we'll tell you.
Yeah, well,
you'll figure it out.
You'll figure it out. But this whole time we're like, man, these clothes, they're definitely like early in the century, but like when exactly and where are they? They're talking about Central Zoo. Are they in New York? Are they? Well, that police officer looks like a constable, so I guess they're in, like London.
We're in England. That is absolutely where we are.
Yeah.
Panda almost died on the way over because just malnutrition, because that's a thing that happened a lot when people stole animals from nature to take them to zoos in the early days, because nobody knows how to take care of animals.
Well, and for TaoTao specifically, he is a panda, and it is made explicit that they do not know what pandas eat, apparently.
They absolutely don't.
Because they keep trying to feed him just...
mush.
Whatever. And TaoTao's like, I want bamboo.
Like, that's all I'll eat. On the journey over, he promises that he won't die out here. He won't die until he gets back home with his family.
Yeah.
And friends. Anyways, he slowly gets better and survives because of the zookeeper, Mary, and her fiancé man, who also is kind of a zookeeper, George. And once he is brought to England, he is given the name TaoTao.
Yeah.
He doesn't really have a name until then.
Mm-hmm.
So now our main character is known as TaoTao. And everybody loves him. And he eventually gets better. And
he's like the star of the zoo.
Yeah, because it's a panda. And pandas are new to Englanders.
Right.
Eventually, a different panda that was captured long ago, or some other time, is brought to the zoo because they want the two to procreate and make more pandas.
And if you know anything about pandas, you know that's already doomed from day one.
Pandas are notorious for not wanting to breed. Like, this is a big issue. This was a really big issue for a long time, that pandas, especially in captivity, don't want to breed.
Yeah.
They don't do that.
It's especially going to be a problem here because it turns out both pandas are boys.
Both pandas are males, even though the people think that the other panda, Rin, I think is the name, is a girl. They gave it a female name because they thought it was a girl, and he's a boy.
Yep.
So TaoTao and Rin do become friends, and they're just like, well, we can't breed. We're just gonna be friends, I guess.
Yeah.
Eventually, the humans give up and take Rin back away, so TaoTao is left alone.
And the humans, never learn why this didn't work.
Oh, no, they never figure out that Rin is a boy.
No. And, TaoTao has a conversation with Rin, like, don't you want to go home? And Rin's like, well, actually, I've been here since I was I've been in captivity since I was a baby, so I don't even know what that would be like.
Yeah, so he's like, I'm honestly okay with living in captivity.
Yeah.
TaoTao's like, I'm going to get out of here.
Yeah.
And then one day, in the middle of winter... I guess George retires from being a zookeeper because he is taking the blame for the breeding not working. So he's going back to school or something. It's very difficult to tell what exactly is going on here, but he kind of leaves Mary.
The whole Mary George situation is a B plot, and it's a B plot from TaoTao's perspective, so you just kind of get hints at what's going on with their relationship.
Mm-hmm. So it's never explicitly clear if these two are married or just dating or what's going on there.
Yeah.
But anyways, George is no longer there. It's only Mary. And Mary decides to take TaoTao into the zoo proper, just like the general grounds, because it snowed and she wants to have fun with him in the zoo. And so he escapes. He climbs a tree and jumps out the zoo walls. And then
should have seen that one coming, Mary.
He runs around town a bit and then makes it to the ocean and...
He makes it to the sewer.
Yeah, he falls down the sewer and then has to go around train tracks, but eventually...
This is the point where we're like, okay, this must be in England because there is a constable police officer.
Yeah, it's like, this is probably England. And then he makes it to the port And he's just like, well, shit, I don't know where to go from here.
Yeah, the world is big,
Mm-hmm.
and I am one small panda.
So eventually he gets recaptured and taken back to the zoo.
At this point, I am just really racking my brain trying to figure out when this takes place and trying to piece it together from their outfits.
Well, we get some clues because George is going to war.
Yeah!
World War II.
Specifically.
And they explicitly talk about how town is getting bombed. Because that happened to England. England got bombed a lot during World War II. So now we know when we are.
Yes.
It's England, World War II. The Nazi Germany is bombing.
Yep.
Mary stays in the zoo with TaoTao because she's got nothing else to do.
Mm-hmm.
She gets news that George dies in the war.
It's sad. She's very upset.
But they both survived the war, and...
You mean Mary and TaoTao.
Mary and TaoTao survive.
Yeah.
Numerous years pass, and it's middle of winter again, and Mary's like, do you want a Christmas present? And TaoTao's like, I want to go home.
Mary, I want to go home.
Please.
And she's like, oh, TaoTao, even after all these years, I still can't understand you. If only we could talk to each other.
He wants to go home.
And TaoTao's just like, Mary, please, let me go home.
And she leaves for the night, and then the door to, like, the general cage opens, and it's a bright, shining light, and he goes out, and... he's back home, he's back in the mountains, and all of his family is there, and his mom's there, and his friends, and everything's great. And it's like, oh, so the panda died.
He's fucking dead.
Like, he died and went to, depending on whatever religion you want, the next life. He is in heaven or whatever. He's passed on.
And at this point, I literally turned to you and I'm like, these cowards literally doing the, oh, well, he's dead, but at least he's at peace now. I'm like, you cowards. But then...
the movie continues.
The movie keeps going.
Mary comes back in the next morning and she finds the door is open and she goes out and she sees that TaoTao is leaning against the bars staring out into the zoo general. And she's like, don't sleep out here, silly. You'll get sick. And then she like shakes the panda and the panda falls over dead. Staring vacantly at the screen, and she's obviously freaked out by this. And then the dead panda cries, and then the movie actually ends. So yeah, this movie has some traumatizing elements.
I can't believe this! They should have just been cowards and ended it before this, because holy shit, that was dark!
So ultimately, this movie is a story about don't take animals.
Yeah.
I think that's it. That's the only moral you can really get out of this is like, don't take animals out of their natural environments because they will be miserable until they die.
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong. Zoos can do a lot of great things as conservation efforts, and like, animals that are born in captivity should stay in captivity because they don't adjust to being back out into the wild well. Mm-hmm. But yeah, this was really a movie about the horrors of being an animal trapped in the zoo when this is not your home.
Especially like, I think it very rarely happens anymore where animals are just explicitly taken from the wild to be put in a zoo for no reason.
Right.
It could still happen. I'm not trying to say that
generalize or say that we're some authority on this subject because we're not.
But I feel like as a general whole, animals are only taken out of nature now to help resuscitate them from dangers.
I mean, that's the hope. That's the hope. I know that there's like a whole, exotic animal black market that exists, and that is definitely a thing that is still common. unfortunately.
But the public perception, at least, is that animals are no longer brought. Anyways.
You know what we're getting at.
But back in the day, no, people just randomly grabbed animals and like, ooh, that's exotic, let's take it to America. Oops, it died on the way. Whatever, we'll get another one.
We don't know what this thing eats or how much space it needs. And like, this is also still showcasing the time period where like zoos are just essentially
cement blocks with bars around them.
Yeah, it's like there's the building and then there's like a little cage outside. Yeah. Ugh.
So
this was depressing.
It was just a depressing movie overall. I absolutely must say.
So there was this movie, and then about 2 years later, so in 1983, there was an anime for TaoTao, which was a multicultural collaboration between China, Japan, Germany, and Czech composer did the theme song for the anime. And this got a whole series, but the series absolutely, definitely, mostly takes place in the Bambi section of the movie before we get to the zoo stuff. At least from what I can tell from the, like, little episode descriptions I could see. Because, like, all of them are about, like, how TaoTao is helping his friends doing this or that. And, like, it's not about him being in the zoo anymore.
That was the first half hour of the movie.
Yeah.
At most.
Yeah. And from what I can tell, the anime is more well known than this movie is. Because that's most of the information I found about this series was the anime, not the film.
Okay.
Which makes it kind of surprising then that the film came first and the anime afterward. And I didn't see anything about this being based off of a book or a manga or anything.
It's just like a story out of nowhere, it seems.
Yeah, and another thing is that the company that made it, Shochiku, is not a company that usually does animation. And even the director of this film is more well known for his live action films than he is animation either. The director is Yoji Yamada, who was not part of making the anime at all, but he directed a series called... Well, I don't actually have a title of the series here, but fans of the series called it the Tora-san series. And it was just like these comedies of a vagabond who's down on his luck and, you know, different situations happen and stuff like that. And then he's also well known for his samurai trilogy, which is the Twilight Samurai, the Hidden Blade, and Love and Honor.
Okay. I feel like I might have actually heard of one of those.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
They definitely, like, sounded vaguely familiar to me as well.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's just, like, general samurai cultural osmosis of, like, what... Like,
right.
we're going to talk about samurai things and, like, the Hidden Blade. And, like, is that an actual movie I've heard of, or is it just a term I've heard?
Right. But yeah, the Shochiku Company, throughout this period, aimed to keep a more friendly family-friendly business model, which was apparently really unpopular at the time in Japan. Because I guess, you know, you're leaning more towards the, like, space operas and the little bit more, like, edgy content and stuff like that. And the company was mostly kept afloat by the aforementioned Tora-san series that I brought up earlier by this director. And so I'm just kind of wondering, like, okay, so where did this movie come from? Like, why did you decide to do this? But I can't see any particular reason as to why. It's just kind of a movie that seemed to have got pushed through production and then was made into an anime, and
it exists.
Yeah, and now I'm sad.
And I would probably suggest most people just skip it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, look at some still images, because, like, I like the design for the monkeys, I like the design of the rabbits and some of the other animals.
And even Mary and George have a really nice design that's kind of like the blend of the art direction they're already going for and like some inspirations of like UPA stylings.
Yeah.
Like, that's really nice. Yeah.
That's about all I could say nice about this movie.
I will say that, like, we started the movie and it immediately warned us, like, hey.
Whoever translated this movie put, like, a big warning on the top. Like, hey, this movie can be traumatizing. Don't let your kids watch it by themselves, probably.
It's technically a family film, but yeah, just be aware. And so, you know, when it was doing the whole Bambi shtick, I was like, okay, it's because the mom dies. Got it. I'm ready for this. No problem.
No, the Bambi thing was, like, the mom dying was, like,
the least
minor.
Traumatizing part.
Yeah.
Ignore the river running red with blood. Let's talk about the horrors of living in a zoo.
All right. Well, how about we wrap up talking about this depressing movie?
Yes.
And so, Tennille, we almost got away with only one 2-hour-plus long space opera. But we have to watch one more before this year is over.
I'm so tired.
Time for Space Warrior Baldios, also from Japan.
All right. To space we go.